irregularities in the VAS system. This matter has now been escalated to a high priority, and the team will be meeting next week to plan the way forward. This is a very complex investigation that deals with cyber-related issues. On page 8 and number 4 is a track and trace system. I need to place emphasis on the track and trace system, which is a legacy system, which basically was developed by the department to deal with all applications when applications were still being completed manually for the period 2004 up to 2014. The track and trace system basically is a system which is excessively used to bypass the VAS system in the department. On number 5, the permanent residency permits. Lots of applicants are involved in applying for this type of permit once they have been exhausting all other options in other visa applications, and it comes up continuously in all the investigations. In terms of this particular focus area, in the 3rd column, we haven't started with those particular matters, but we will continue with that as more in the medium term going forward. You will see, as outlined in the last column under status, it comes up in quite a number of these focus areas. On page 9, dealing with number 6, the business permits. This relates to all business permit approvals that were found to be skewed, where analysis indicated 1,137 applications that were approved over the same period in the track and trace system. These applications and approvals should have been processed through the VFS and VAS and not in the TNT matter. The TNT, actually no matter should further be processed in that track and trace system. In this business process, we're currently busy with one investigation process. So far, 2 suspension letters have been issued, and this charge sheet business process we're currently busy with. If we move to page 10, one investigation process. So far, on point 11, the retirement visas charge sheet business process we currently busy with. If you move to page 10, all approved retirement visas relates to all approved retirement visas, a significant increase of applications for the period 2016 to 2018. All retirement visas below the age of 55. Look at all retirement visas where applicants have applied for another visa due to a change in status, i.e. from a retirement visa to a spousal relationship, or to apply for a general workers visa to work in the country. All retirement visas awarded in contravention of section 20 of the Immigration Act related to minimum amounts for monthly persons for pension or irrevocable annuity or retirement accounts. This matter has just recently been escalated after the data analytics team flagged 3,530 matters involving retirement visa applications and visas issued, and it relates to the retirement visas or permits for young applicants, work or spousal relationship visa to entitle the applicants to work in South Africa. It relates to the retirement visas or permits for young applicants and work or spousal relationship irregular system users created on the movement control system. This relates to all the movement control process transactions created by irregular users. This has also been escalated as a high priority system, as there are over 285,000 matters that have been identified for further investigation and action, extensively involving unauthorized EHA users that created process movement across South African borders. We are focusing on this and preparing an urgent memorandum for the Director General to intervene in certain aspects that will be highlighted to him in that particular urgent memorandum for the Director General. On page 11, 13, the after hours weekend and public holiday visa processed on VAS. This relates to all visa applications that were processed after hours to 13 over weekends and public holidays as by Home Affairs officials. In a matter in the Benoni office, there was an official that was disciplined and dismissed. And the MDT Malad investigation was conducted by the counter-corruption unit official and the MDT has now received that to look at criminal referrals and investigations, and subsequent to that identified an additional 7 officials that were involved in this particular matter. This relates to officials who allegedly assist foreign nationals to obtain South African passports that were involved in this illegally during COVID-19 lockdown. So far, 111 matters have been identified and currently being investigated. And one matter has been finalized and will be identified and referred to the DPCI in the next week for criminal investigation. One matter has been finalized and will be number 16, missing visas or permit control numbers. It relates to all internal audit findings related to missing visas and permit printed control numbers. Those are the labels that visa or permit labels that are relates to all internal audit findings related to that are used for visa in a passport control numbers. This has also been visa or permit labels moved to a high priority area as the data analytics team has flagged 1,150 visas that were ostensibly issued to foreign nationals where it appears that certain visa labels may not have been issued by the department as yet, and they already circulated. That were ostensibly issued to foreign nationals where it appears that certain page 12 labels may not have been issued on item number 20 deals with the national population anomalies. Currently, the team is busy with 35 investigations, which also involves the previous 111 matters that have now been flagged, earlier mentioned. 3 matters investigations are currently on route to the DPCI. These matters were handed to the Director General on 28th August for his referral for criminal investigation. 4 matters have been referred to the DPCI in the previous matters, and one previously registered criminal case, which is currently with the police, is being actively supported by the MDT to previously registered them in finalizing outstanding matters being prosecution. Actively supported by the MDT. On page 13, item number 22, it deals with visas and permits that were rejected, approved with fraudulent documents detected. This relates to all 880 applications approved containing fraudulent documentation detected during adjudication process. There are currently 10 matters in investigation. 1 suspension letter has been so far been issued to the official, 1 charge sheet has been issued, 1 disciplinary has currently commenced, and 6 matters have been referred on the 28th to the official, 1 charge for criminal investigation. 1 disciplinary has currently commenced, and 6 matters have been referred on the 28th to the official. On item number 23, the applications that were rejected due to fraudulent documents submitted, but new applications have been approved after the initial application was rejected. Relates to all 4,160 applications that were rejected due to fraudulent documents submitted, but applicants later applied for other visa permit types which were approved. There's another 10 matters that were flagged in this particular matter, which were approved, as well as there's another 10 criminal referrals that will be handled matter with the Director General in the next report, as well as cycle of the criminal referrals team for referral to the police will be handled the matter going forward. On the last item 24, the firewall irregularities, this deals potentially with corrupt involvement of officials and companies appointed to install firewalls in the 24, the provincial officers. This matter has been handed over. Criminal case was registered involvement of officials and companies appointed to install CAS system, and those investigations are ongoing. This matter has on page 14, the NDT prioritization of certain matters, CAS system, and those investigations. The NDT is currently focusing in the short term on the following impactful areas and directed general referrals requiring urgent attention. This obviously relates to the matters aligned to the focus areas as identified in the Ministerial Committee report or the Lubisi Report as and aligned to the mandate of the MDT as aforementioned. For example, the specific high-profile matters. It's important to note that the NDT has adopted a layered, for example, the process of investigations, which were classified under short-term, high-impact matters, medium-term, and longer-term matters. Matters that were referred to the respective law enforcement agencies, but requiring additional unlocking of activities for such matters to gain traction. Urgent matters that have referred by the Director General, including disciplinary matters, referred disciplinary matters requiring review and unblocking of activities to ensure timely resolutions of such matters by the Director General and the minimization of potential fruitless and wasteful expenditure where we find such. Sound working relationship fostered between the MDT, Departmental Counter-Corruption Unit, the Labour Relations Expenditure, and the ICT in progressing and a pillar of support for the work that is currently done in the short space of time. On page 15, this relates to DG referrals and to the pillar of support MDT for immediate investigations. The MDT team has prioritized with immediate action as referred by the DG in commenced investigations accordingly related to, in particular, Ghana emission, which I briefly mentioned. Immediate action as referred by will also allow at the end of his presentation, Mr. Myambu, just accordingly related to possibly mention anything further involving issuance of fraudulent visas and permits. One official has been suspended, charged, and is currently undergoing a disciplinary hearing, which sat on the 15th of August, and is currently ongoing. One official has been suspended, charged. In the China mission, there were 2 officials suspended, which sat on involving precautionary suspension letters issued in June 2023 in matters related to irregular issued China. Both members were suspended foreign employment, had foreign employment, and have since come, which has since come to an end. Matters related to irregular issued suspended subsequently, and the draft charge sheets have been prepared. The charge sheet in respect of one official has been served, and a notice of disciplinary proceeding in case one official has been served. Disciplinary proceedings in respect of official has commenced on charge sheet in respect of one official and ongoing. Page 10, in the Eswatini matter, this is related in a letter that dated June the 6th, 2023. The Director General informed the applicant and bearer of a South African smart identity card and a South African passport that her identity card and passport would be cancelled in terms of the provisions of the Identification Act and the South African passport and travel documents Act. This was preceded by a letter for representation by the applicant before she would be declared a prohibited person in terms of section 49(1)(f) in brackets of the Immigration Act. Following investigations, interviews and memoranda were prepared for the and submitted notably on the 2nd of June to align to following investigations and memoranda for these prepared for these permits, these ID cards, notably on the 2nd of June to align. There were also certain challenges in the Gupta family early naturalization and administrative process, which are currently being reviewed by the team based on available evidence with a view to plug gaps in the challenges in the Gupta family. Mr. Myambu would also just highlight more matters in relation, more aspects relating to this, in dealing with disciplinary referrals from the Director General to DPCI for immediate investigations. A dedicated task team has been set up by the DPCI to focus on all matters referred by the MDTT to ensure prioritization and traction of these matters. There are ongoing meetings almost on a weekly basis to ensure that these matters continue and that tractions in getting it done remain high and a priority. In the Bashuri matter, support is currently being rendered by the MDTT to the DPCI in respect of ongoing criminal investigations and by the team to the department in respect of disciplinary matters that are ongoing. These matters have also been concluded now. Further support is also being rendered to the DHA relating to the arbitration in respect of former Chief Director that was previously dismissed. There are 11 new matters that have been finalized that were handed to the Director General on the 23rd for referral to the DPCI in criminal investigations, which has already been mentioned. The case management system, the MDTT uses a state-of-the-art electronic case management system to digitally manage all investigations. The case management has been fully configured and customized to deal with the aspects of Home Affairs in relation to this investigation. There are 81 priority matters that have been uploaded onto the system that are currently being investigated, and a further 21,198 foreign nationals emanating from the MINCOM report who are persons of interest that were also uploaded in the case management system. The system is fully auditable and can be audited by the AG if and when required. In terms of slide 19, the size of data set obtained, as you would recall, during the Lubisi report presentation to the committee, the data set at that time stood at around 4 billion records that were being used for that purpose of that review. It is now nearly 12 billion records and a very big and formidable data set, which is trolled daily by the data analytics team and is a big support and for the investigation and disciplinary teams to prepare and identify and present supporting data. And as we previously outlined, this relates, all findings are based on the data from this particular database, which belongs to all areas of data systems in the department currently in use, and also obviously with findings during the investigation processes in interviews and so forth. On slide 20, the level profiles of all officials referred to for disciplinary action to date. The level profiles of the officials identified in the referrals fall within the following salary levels between 1 and 12. There are currently 59 officials. There's one in level 13 and one in level 14. I must note that the Labour Relations Department referred a number of disciplinary matters to the MDTT for further processing and investigations. The MDTT then selected 53 of these matters for further investigations, and 18 were reviewed and found to be outside of the mandate of the team and was sent back after detailed review in any event, where certain recommendations were made, and as well as where criminal referral was made in one particular matter. These matters related more to South African IDs and births and not related to foreign nationals. Amongst these 53 matters, there are 59 officials currently being looked at in these matters. There are currently 11 officials that are undergoing disciplinary action as we speak. At this point, Honourable Chair, I would ask Mr. Mkolisi to possibly just briefly give some more information around the Bushiri matter as well as the Gupta complications and matters.
Thank you very much. You can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to honourable members, including the Minister. Honourable Chair, the Bushiri matter was the commencement of our work as the the investigation team and disciplinary team. The matter was delaying due to several issues, but we have now been able to intervene, and we've worked together with the internal members of the DHA, the Home Affairs, and we have managed to finalize these disciplinary matters. 4 officials were charged with misconduct related to the Bushiri matter, and those disciplinary matters have now been concluded, and we are expecting the chairperson of the internal matters to issue his decision in the next week, and we have reviewed the evidence, and we are confident that the department will be in a position to secure findings of guilt. The evidence against the officials is quite solid. In the naturalization, the early naturalization of the Gupta family, our team was issued with an investigation report that relates to an investigation that was already conducted by the public protector. But the public protector's investigation was not focused pointedly on the internal officials and their particular roles in the early naturalization. And we could not use the public protector report as is as evidence in pursuing any charges against internal officials. Our team of investigators that had to investigate the matter fresh, and the investigation has now been completed, and 2 officials who are still employees of the department have been identified, and charges against those officials will be issued in the next 2 weeks, related to their roles internally in the issuing of the early naturalization that was done by the then Minister of Home Affairs. And in the China and Ghana matters, our team is involved directly in dealing with the disciplinary matters, and we have started charging of the officials as tabled in the report, and those disciplinary matters are now instituted and ongoing. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Myambu. Thank you, Mr. Myambu. If I can then proceed to the last slide on the recommendations. It is hereby, Honourable Chair, recommended that the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs please note the presentation. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, for the opportunity.
Thanks very much for having presented this comprehensive report or progress report to the Portfolio Committee members. This the report as per your decision to recommend that the Home Affairs must establish the task team to look on the issues that you have identified in your work or oversight conducted previously. In attendance is Honorable Mulekwa, Honorable Ross, Honorable Mukhale, Honorable Pillay, Honorable Bongo, Honorable Mutise Mtsa. You will advise Mr. Matonzi as per your apologies that other members will be joining late when the meeting is in session, so that we also appreciate their contributions to the report. In that order, Honorable Mulekwa.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Also like to appreciate the progress, the report and the progress it presented thus far. We also appreciate also, Chairperson, that at least there are cases that are being handed over to the law enforcement agency. We hope that very soon they will be concluded, and then the perpetrators will get their sentence.
Honorable Mulekwa. Okay.
we wish to also note the report and I will await for the final report, as there are still cases that are being under investigation as we speak. And we also appreciate the Bushiri case that is also being unblocked. We hope that it will attended very soon so that we get the closure of the report. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Madam Lego, for your contributions. Honorable Ross.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and yeah, greetings to everybody after the constituency period. So, Chair, I think it's important, that we start when we consider this, that the Lubisi Report, it's obviously about rampant corruption in issuing immigration permits at Home Affairs. But it also has a significant economic impact. So we know in the medium-term strategic framework, an apex priority, which is a top priority of Home Affairs, is a visa regime that supports economic transformation and job creation. And it goes on to talk about how a revised visa regime and the issuance of visas and permits will grow the economy by attracting global business and promoting tourism. And so there's two elements. I'm going to start with the corruption element. And I see that in some cases, charges are being laid for fraudulent visa or permit issuance. And you would expect this given the threat to national security. Anybody that's been a party to issuing one of these visas or facilitating it has created a threat to our national security. But it appears that some people for these actions, they undergo disciplinary actions. These can take quite a long time. As we've seen before, about a year and a half. They get their salaries, they get their bonuses, they even get their day-to-day perks as well. And then some of them, it seems to be that there isn't going to be prosecution. And then we have the Director of Appeals and the Chief Director of Permits who were dismissed as a result of a disciplinary action. But it doesn't appear that criminal charges are being formulated. So my question to the investigators really is how can it be that these visas were processed without the approval of a Chief Director of Permits or a Director of Appeals? And why are some only facing disciplinary action and not criminal prosecution? Because if you look at it, we're talking about the issuance or being a party in the issuance of a fraudulent visa, which allows somebody that is not supposed to be in the country to be in the country and creating a threat to our national security. So I'd really like to just understand that, Chairperson. And then we saw in the draft report, a number of persons were implicated for further investigation. And I see we've received a lot of little numbers, but how many of these persons are still working at Home Affairs? And how many of them are on suspension at this point in time? Because I think it has a significant impact on the current operations as well. The longer the investigation takes, the longer persons are on suspension and are not working, then it leaves a gap where the department cannot process visas properly. And therefore you have the knock-on of business not being able to come in the country, persons not being able to get their visas. Chairperson?
Proceed, Honorable Ross.
Okay, so it has that knock-on effect that as the capacity is hobbled in this case with these investigations going on, that it affects our economy negatively. Then I want to also understand, those that receive fraudulent visas, and now they're obviously going to be rescinded, but how will people or the general public know that these have been withdrawn? And if we look, the Democratic Alliance has previously proposed that one has a system where people can validate a visa or just to determine that it is valid, for example, to allow persons to work. So I want to understand, how will people know that these have been withdrawn? If the fraudulent visas are withdrawn by Home Affairs, do these persons carry on floating around in the country able to use these visas for work, etc., without people knowing that they've been withdrawn? Then in terms of the deadlines, I mean, what is the deadlines for the various task team focus areas in this investigation? Again, the longer it goes on, the longer we have an incapacitated permitting division, and that has an effect on legitimate applicants for these permits. And then when is it envisaged that the outdated immigration legacy systems will be upgraded to ABIS and BCMS to prevent future fraud? Now, Chair, I'm just also going to touch on the service level element. And we've received figures, I don't know what it is now, of between 40 and 50,000 backlog in terms of visas. And these are applications from billionaires, directors of multinational corporations, and others that have had their applications pending in the backlog since 2016 and are now, in many cases, even threatening legal action against Home Affairs that will cost Home Affairs money to litigate and to pay out. Now, if we look at the Lubisi report, it mentions a figure of about 45,000 fraudulent visas that were issued between 2014 and 2021. So this indicates it's not a matter of a number of staff. It's a matter of if you didn't issue the fraudulent visas, you would have processed the legitimate visa applications. So my question at the moment really in this regard is, clearly officials have been spending their time issuing fraudulent visas instead of the legitimate visas, and therefore you have this backlog now. But on the 1st of March, there were 18 additional adjudicators that started. They received a month's training. And Chair, I'm going to be frank with you, I have not seen any improvement in the adjudication of visas. I think the last 2 months has been a nightmare, where the Department of Home Affairs feels that when we are not in session in Parliament, that they can just let the queries drop that come through us. But the point that I want to get to here is how effective have these 18 additional adjudicators been that have started off? What is the status of that backlog? And what has happened to the staff that were doing that job, who the minister indicated did not have the legal qualifications to process these applications? Were they placed somewhere else? Were they demoted? What happened to those staff? And then finally, Chair, what is the timeline for the review of the delegation of adjudication of permits to improve these turnaround times? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ross, for your contributions. Honorable Mohale. Honorable Mohale. Honorable Pile.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to all members and all stakeholders on the platform. Chair, let me join you in also expressing our disappointment about the study tour that didn't happen, and also appreciate all of the interventions that you have taken as the chair of the committee to overcome these. We also want to welcome the proposed oversight to VFS, and we hope that that would be dealt with speedily. Chair, the first one is just to ask if there's an overall percentage, what will the department say is the overall percentage of the report that has been implemented to date? And the other question is just in line with what Honorable Ruas has just mentioned. Are there any employees who are currently under investigation or have been investigated that may be still in the employment of the department? And the last one is, what is the time frame for the completion of all of these findings? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Pile, for your contribution. Honorable Bongo.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and good morning to everyone. I think I just share the views mainly expressed by colleagues, but we generally appreciate the report and the progress of this team. But what is what is an elephant in the room? It's what Honorable Ross is raising, that the visa applications and all the permitting that people are requesting are not going anywhere. There's nothing that is. Actually, it's correct. Over the past 3 months, there's been literally nothing happening. So big multilateral and corporates are looking for visas, are looking for permits. Nothing is moving. And you'll note that the President of the Republic said there's a spin-off around this issue of permits in the Home Affairs. And mainly it's about the economic boost that must come to the country. So whilst we appreciate the report, but on the other side, there's nothing happening. We did raise this when we visited the department, and they showed us something, but after our visit, nothing has moved. The queries that I said they are on my desk, I think they've now multiplied. Everyone is calling. What is happening? There are queries that are as old as 3 years, 5 years. What about those that must be dealt with now? What is the state of the backlog? I think we need to move with a speed of a mirage in terms of dealing with these issues, because I think there is just a problem. But we appreciate that the team and the department is trying to deal with the issue of the issues that we are relating to corruption and so on. But what is it that is happening tangibly to deal with the backlog? Because it's a huge one, and every day somebody is complaining, an investor is complaining. Every day somebody is raising an issue about the visas, the permits. It is so much so that I don't understand, because we had visited there. When we left, there was some hope. But when we came back to our offices, it's even worse than when we had visited. So we want to get to know what exactly is the problem. Is the problem requiring policy directive? Do we need to change some legislation? Do we need, or is just an issue of either lack of staff, or the staff does not want to work? Because also what I'm now noting, Chair, is that when they say people are undergoing disciplinary hearing or they are being charged, they refer to very junior officials, extremely junior officials. They're not talking about officials that are at a high level, those who take decisions. So one would wonder, so are these officials either targeted or what? Because a junior official has no capacity to do big instructions. Big instructions, as far as we were briefed, was that they involve a director, chief director, DDG, and so on and so forth. But we don't see that value chain as we look at those suspensions and those that they've been charged, like something is just being hidden. So we'll need to go a bit deeper into exactly what is happening there. As from where I'm sitting, I just don't see anything happening. You see, and I will be persuaded that because we went there not long, we may have to, because in your opening remarks you said we must do oversight to VFS. We may have to go back to this. And now there was Simons, and I'm told Simons is no longer there. And we don't know how does that affect the value chain. Somebody is there, somebody is no longer there. But there is a big outcry that affects the economy of the country around these issues. So how do we turn around? Because we may need to turn around. With regard to the Bushiri issue, and the chief director was on arbitration, I'm also not getting what is arbitration ongoing, but I'm not getting the gist. What is happening? Is it just ongoing? At what stage are these processes? Because we may find that we're also litigating, wasting even more money. But the report does not say it is now at this stage of arbitration. And on this date, we're expecting something is going to give in on this date. Also, the Bushiri matter just is being priced. We want to get what exactly is happening. The fact that the matter is being dealt with the DPCI and so on, it is not sufficient. We may need to get deeper into, okay, what is it that is happening? So that we are properly briefed and also know how do these things affect the value chain. Because now I actually have a reason to suspect that the officials, they don't want to work, or either they are afraid to be chased or something. Because there's literally nothing over the past 3 months that is happening, literally. So how do we deal with those kind of issues? So I'm just getting persuaded that if